Good evening, everyone. I am Richa Sera, founder and editor-in-chief Responsible Hospitals. And as usual, I always come up with a different topic which is in demand and which people ask for. This time I have come up with a topic which is called high pregnancy. High risk pregnancy is something which is quite complicated. A lot of people keep asking us these questions that is it different from as every woman go through with the pregnancy, but they still do not know that being a high pregnancy woman, is it really different from the normal delivery, or is it just like any other delivery which is happening. So I think this is something which really is important for us to understand and to know it deeply. So I would have Dr. Ritambra Bhala with me from Chandigarh Cloud9, and we'll be just starting the session right here within 2 minutes. I'll just add her right here with me on the live session. We'll start it. Just be with me, guys. I hope I'm audible enough.
Hello.
Hi, good evening, Dr. Ritambra. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Welcome to our Insta channel, Insta Live today.
Thank you, dear. Thank you.
So, Dr. Ritambra, I was just introducing you to the audience that you are with Cloud9 Hospital as a gynecologist and obstetrician, and you have been very well experienced about high risk pregnancies, delivering those patients. So, I think today's topic is all about that. We'll be discussing more into that what are high risk pregnancy, how we call them high risk pregnancies, what are the factors which is why people got into this stage, and what pregnancies are actually called high risk pregnancies. So we'll be just talking all that in little deep way, and I'll be just starting the session right here with you. So hope you all, whatever questions you have, you can just put it in the live. We'll just pick up some questions in case anyone has some questions related to it. So am I audible, Dr. Ritambra?
Yeah. Hi. Well, at the outset, I was just wanted to say a couple of things.
Sure.
Right. All pregnancies are precious. All mothers and babies are precious. Right. In obstetrics, what we normally say is that pregnancy till the mother baby goes home is considered to be a complicated pregnancy. What I mean to say is that there is no particular point in time where you could say that pregnancy cannot get complicated and not become a high risk case, right?
That's so.
But there are a couple of pregnancies where it's about 5 to 10% which are actually called the high risk pregnancy. But about 50 to 60% women would fall into this category when you look at the list of the women who categorize for a high risk pregnancy, right?
Sure.
So what we need to do in these women is just to identify them at the right point of time, ensure that they're looked after in a correct way so as to have an optimal mother and maternal and fetal outcome, right? You have a happy mama and a healthy baby.
True.
Right? That is the aim of all pregnancy, and more so when you talk about a high risk pregnancy. So
Absolutely.
all those women all those women who are at risk, both mother or baby, would be called a high risk pregnancy.
Sure. Sure. I think a very valid point which you have started with. I think this is something which everybody should be aware of. And in our term, we call it anything, but then being a doctor, you would know better in and out that you know what can be called to on what scale they are in. So I would start with a question with you, doctor, that what are the complications of pregnancy that comes under the high risk pregnancy, basically?
Yes. When you talk about high risk pregnancy, the important things are that pregnancies can be classified into the ones which have a pre-existing disease, where you have a pre-existing complication like a heart disease or a hypertension or a diabetic, you are a diabetic on insulin, you've got a renal disease, you've got an epilepsy, you would be classified into a pre-existing category of high risk pregnancy, right? Or if you talk about a simple category of age, if you are a young, less than 17, 18 years, teenage pregnancy, you are a high risk. If you talk about 35 and above, you've got a huge different set of complications, you would be classified as high risk. So even if you are elder or you are a younger lady, and you would be categorized as a high risk pregnancy. Then you come to pre-existing diseases where, as I said, any complication which you start your pregnancy weight, even if it is overweight, if you're 100 and above, and you start your pregnancy with 100 weight, 100 kg, you are a high risk pregnancy.
All right.
So if you have any complication in the previous pregnancy, you've had a hypertension, you've had a diabetes, you've got hypothyroidism, you've got previous loss, like you had a conception and the babies were lost, either it was abortion or something, you would still be categorized as a high risk pregnancy. If you've had a previous surgery which was in uterus, like a fibroid removal or something like that, you would again be categorized as a high risk pregnancy.
All right.
A simple disorder like anemia, which we don't consider important, is again a high risk pregnancy.
All right.
Right? So any HIV, AIDS would be called a high risk pregnancy. And in today's era, we highlight it with red color is his patient having had COVID infection during pregnancy. Is again a high risk pregnancy. The outcomes are variable. We are actually quite scared when a patient has had a COVID infection. We are on our toes till the mother and the baby go home.
Absolutely.
So there is a huge variety of list of ladies who fall into this particular category. And as I said, when you look at the list, you realize that maybe all of them fall into a high risk category.
That's what I'm saying.
Uncomplicated. Yeah, uncomplicated lady conceiving soon after pregnancy, at the appropriate age of 24 years, having no comorbidity, would be a pregnancy at low risk. And that too, our books classify primigravidas, that is the first time pregnant, also as high risk, where you don't know how they're going to evolve during their 9 months. So even those are high risk women. Right, so even PGI, they would say, okay, if you are priming, maybe we will consider you. If you are a second time pregnant and you've had a normal delivery, you can deliver in GMCH or in the civil hospital or somewhere. So basically, any lady, as I said, where the outcome and the way the pregnancy goes is not known, would be categorized as a high risk with a rider. Okay, maybe a low risk, high risk, or a high risk, right? So that is how it goes.
So I think understanding from you, it looks like that since even we understand that every delivery and every person in the body reacts differently and they are different from others. So absolutely, for a doctor point of view, you would say that for you every case is different, every case is important. We cannot say that you have to focus more on the high pregnancy. You will focus on each and every patient. For you, everything is risky, everything is important. So I totally get your point, and I think the people will also be getting it, that how you want to communicate it to. So, doctor, since you have clearly mentioned right now that most of these, factors which you have just mentioned, that they are high pregnancy factors, but people are confused about it. Then now somebody is asking that does age also plays a role for high risk pregnancy? So how do people are not aware that how do they react to it? Whether they should get pregnant when they are on, there is some time limit, there is some specific age. This is best age to get pregnant. People are not sure. They are sure that they should not get pregnant after 35. They are sure they should not get in the teenage. But they frankly they are not sure that when to actually deliver, when to actually conceive. By the time they think, I think either it lands up in the high pregnancy thing or something else comes up. What do you think about the age factors?
Well, the idea, as I said, the ideal age to conceive and deliver would be 24-25 years, where you are mature enough to know what is happening with you, and old enough to handle the pregnancy and the outcome. But ideal things do not exist in this world, right? Ideal situations do not arise. But yes, anywhere between 20 years to 32 years is good enough age. Complications occur when you cross 30.
Okay.
So after 30, the aging of eggs and starts rapidly taking place. The ovaries do not have that good quality of eggs, and therefore the embryos and the babies that are formed are more likely to have genetic defects. So after 35, this is accelerated, and therefore we say that if you wish to conceive, be pregnant before 30 years. If your generation, the younger generation, does not think it is important, they haven't made their careers, and so they get pregnant before that. But my dear friends, it is the ideal time to conceive at around 24 to 30 years and have babies at that particular point of time. After 30, the things complicate, and after 35, the things get much worse. And because you end up with lots of complications like abortions, preterm babies, hypertension risk increases, diabetes risk increases, more chances of babies having malformation, more chances of ending up in cesarean section and complications thereof. So when you are young, you are less likely to have complications, and therefore 24, 20 to 30 is the time when you should become pregnant, with expecting the best outcome of pregnancy without much complications.
Sure, absolutely.
But after that, with IVF people, again, it is categorized as a high risk pregnancy, right? So I would suggest that you should try to, if you wish to plan a pregnancy, do it before 30, so that you are healthy and have the best outcome.
Sure. Doctor, somebody has asked us that I'm having Burkitt uterus and I'm in my 35th week. What are the chances for normal delivery?
She's got fibroid uterus?
No, she's saying biconate.
Biconate. Well, biconate uterus is a condition where there is a uterine anomaly. The uterus is not one, it has got two bifurcations. So we don't expect the uterus to react normally to labor. It's not that it's an absolute no, that you cannot deliver normally. It is not like that. There is a chance that you may go in labor on your own, right? Around, say, 20-30% chance that you may go in labor on your own and deliver normally. But the chances that you would not have a spontaneous labor on your own is pretty high. And because the shape is different, the alignment of the baby is sometimes different, and more chances are there that you would end up in a cesarean section because the direction may not be adequate. So but here I would suggest there is a rider. All labeled biconate uteruses may not turn out to be that complicated. Sometimes it is not that it is a biconate, there is a slight dimpling of the uterus. It appears on a scan that there are two uteri, however there is only one, and there is a slight dimple. Such patients do deliver normally without any complication.
Sure.
So keep your fingers crossed, do exercise and work out, because it is being always good, and you may end up in having a...
Somebody is asking your number. So Jyotika, I think you can connect with her at Cloud9 Hospital, Chandigarh. Her name is Dr. Ritambra Bhalla. You can just ask for a direct number, or else I'll just send you thereafter once the section is over. You can just connect with her directly. So thanks for just clarifying on these concerns, doctor. Just tell me, let's suppose a pregnancy which is going smooth, and as you said that some factors come up in between and then they turn out to be her. So what could be those factors, if you can just elaborate on them?
Yes. So there are some medical conditions which are specific to pregnancy, right? Hypertension comes up anytime after 20 weeks and can complicate pregnancy. So hypertension in pregnancy is called preeclampsia, right? There is a grading where you could have hypertension with various organs involved, like kidney would be involved, liver could be involved, brain could be involved, and you could have a seizure. So there are hypertension in pregnancy complicates to about 10 to 25% of pregnancies. So the second common thing, and it is one of the most important cause of maternal death. right? So one of the most common among the 5 ones. So, and sadly, it is a test which you can do very easily. Just check your blood pressure and monitor your blood pressure, and you can pick up a disease. So we should be more vigilant. All those who are first time pregnant, the primigravidas, are at risk. Similarly, the women who are 35 and above and the women who are younger than 18 years are apparently at a higher risk to develop hypertension during pregnancy. So these women should be more careful and monitor their blood pressure regularly, especially after 20 weeks. But after 20 weeks, if their blood pressure starts rising beyond 130/90, they are supposed to report to their doctor. Other signs of hypertension include dizziness, breathlessness, pain in the upper abdomen. So if these things get complicated with hypertension, you are in for trouble. You could end up with a seizure, and that could be disastrous for you as well as for your baby. So hypertension is one important factor which can come up with anyone, anytime, and only awareness is what the key to it. Second thing which we often encounter in our country and more so in Punjab, in about 25% women, is diabetes. We Punjabis we are foodies and we really do not look at what we eat. Yes. And we live for eating, and there so goes. And pregnancy gives you a leverage where you can eat without guilt. So you keep eating. So friends, at 26 to 28 weeks, your metabolism goes for a toss. That's the time when your diabetes will come up, and it will affect the baby. So anything
That affects the baby is going to be dangerous.
anything which causes baby to be at risk, and unfortunately, there is no shortcut. You have to shut your mouth and walk. Burn the calories you take, or else you would be ending up with disaster, like you will have big babies, like excess liquor, ending up with complicated normal deliveries with injuries to the baby, other than malformations that can occur at any point in time in the baby. And the diabetic mothers are known to have sudden, unexplained intrauterine death, where you would have no sign. You would have come and shown me today, and tomorrow the baby is not there. And there is no way that our monitoring can help you in that. So there is no shortcut when you are pregnant and you are told to be diabetic. Please do not say that I am not eating this, I am not eating sugar. You are diabetic. It is safer for you to be labeled as diabetic rather than not being labeled as diabetic. So if you are being more vigilant during pregnancy, it is for your own and your baby's sake. So diabetes is one important thing that you cannot forget. And the third thing important is thyroidism. It is like an epidemic now that every other person is in India, more so in the northern zone, is now having hypothyroidism. And the cutoff in pregnancy is little low. We start thyroid medication when the TSH is around 3 and above. Less than 3, we don't mind. But 3 and above, we would like you to be treated, because subclinical hypothyroidism, where it is not overt, that is, it is not associated with various symptoms and patient is not aware of that, there are increased risk of abortions, increased risk of premature delivery, and there is a condition called placental abruption, where the placenta leaves its position much before the labor should start, and therefore you end up losing the baby. So other than that, the baby's growth is stunted. So what we would like you to do is monitor your TSH at the first instant when you become pregnant, and if it is high, seek an opinion and with the endocrinologist, and start medication whenever needed. So these are 3 most important things which come up during pregnancy and which make you more complicated and high risk.
Sure, doctor. Very, very well explained. I think mothers or expecting mothers who must be watching must be now, they'll be more cautious to eat or to take any step ahead, and which is what is the motive for this session, frankly. Next question to you is, doctor, does the mode of conception also also makes you susceptible for high risk pregnancy?
Sorry, I did not understand.
Does the mode of conception also makes you susceptible for high risk pregnancy?
Yeah. So, as I said, best is spontaneous conception soon after marriage. That's the ideal thing to have. So, whenever you talk of mode of conception, we are talking about how did you conceive. If it is not a spontaneous conception and a natural conception, and it is an assisted conception in various ways, like you could have a simple ovulation induction with medication and you become pregnant, or if you have had an IVF, which itself is a high risk thing because one, it starts off with the fact that you could not conceive on your own. So there is a problem somewhere, which is why you could not conceive on your own, right? And there is a chance that you would have either a malformation of baby, more chances of abortion, more chances of going into preterm, a higher chance of developing hypertension and diabetes, as I've just said. And at the end of it, you would end up with cesarean section. So when you have conceived naturally and normally, you will have a normal delivery and with the best outcome, least complication. So if you've had an assisted delivery in various ways, you are likely to have more complications during your pregnancy, and the delivery is going to be ending up in cesarean section. Cesarean is not bad. I'm not saying cesarean is bad in any way, but then it is considered as a complication. It is not natural. So all pregnancies do not end up in cesarean, as it is in world over. The rising cesarean section rate is causing a lot of boom and alarm. So IVF has got lots of contribution towards it. So age is an important thing, and the mode of delivery is also equally important.
Sure.
The mode of conception, sorry, is very important.
What are the kind of precautions which are required for women dealing with high risk pregnancy, on maybe routine wise, or what do you want to say about it?
Yeah. So when you are labeled as a high risk pregnancy, right, then what you're supposed to know is you must follow the instructions given by the doctor, your treating doctor, as to the core, right? If I'm asking you to monitor your blood pressure, I'm asking you to monitor your sugars, you can't take liberties. You can't cheat on me and give reports which are not correct, because that's not in your interest, right? मैम मैंने तो आइसक्रीम खा ली आज, तो मैंने सोचा था फिर मैं आज शुगर नहीं मॉनिटर करूँ. आप मॉनिटर करो, आइसक्रीम खाओ, शुगर मॉनिटर करो. I don't mind seeing a wrong report. At least I know that you've been sincere to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
After all, I'm responsible towards it, right?
Right.
So monitoring of mother and baby goes hand in glove. Monitoring we normally start doing after 28 weeks. Because the setup like ours and all the tertiary care centers which cater for a high risk pregnancy, they are able to save babies who are 28 weeks, around 7.5 months, around 600 grams of weight. So we strictly monitor high risk pregnancy from 28 weeks, ensuring that we have the best outcome for mother and baby. Depending upon your high risk factor, we advise you various things: blood pressure, sugar, thyroid medication, various ultrasounds, which include biophysical profile, which is a special ultrasound technique which tells you about baby's respiration, the movement of the baby, the heart rate changes, and it basically tells you the function of the baby in uterus. So and there is an ECG kind of a thing which is called NST, non-stress test, which gives you the rhythmic changes of the heart, and that is done after 32 weeks of gestation. So these monitorings are done more frequently in a woman who is a high risk for pregnancy. So as to have the best neonatal and maternal outcome.
So are you trying to say that, I mean, I think it is required that, people are a little confused. I mean, the girls who are expecting, or they feel that they are into the same category. How do they choose a hospital or a doctor? I think which is what the major confusion happens. How do they understand that, this is the right
See,
hospital or doctor who can advise well for their high risk?
yes. So when you look for a hospital, and especially when you feel that you belong to this category of high risk pregnancy, it has to be a hospital with infrastructure to look after the mother and the baby. Baby, not in the sense of a 9 months old 3 kg baby, a premature baby, like a NICU, which can monitor at least 1 kg baby, right? Because you can end up with a premature baby or a baby who is growth retarded, right? That means that baby, you may be 34 weeks, but the baby's weight, like in my case, I delivered at PGI and my baby was 1.1 kg. So when you know that a hospital can look after a 1.1 kg or 1.2 kg baby safely, so that is the place where you have a fantastic maternal child monitoring unit, a unit which can look after a preterm baby, a unit which has a facility of a tertiary care NICU, a level 3 or level 4 NICU, and a full-fledged hospital which has a 24/7 facility, so that when you end up in an emergency, there is somebody to look after. And not a qualified gynecologist looking after you is very, very important. You can't just disregard. And of course, I told you all the monitoring things that are needed have to be there. So it is important that you identify your problem and look for a hospital. I'm sure it's not a very good difficult thing. In Chandigarh, there are a huge number of facilities which are working on doing that.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Tambra. I think it was really insightful and it was very informative. I myself thoroughly enjoyed it, understood a lot of things. I think these are some very important points which are really need to be taken care by everyone. And which is why I think it's really helpful for others. Maybe we can save one life, we can save many other people, and if they understand even a one simple tip out of all this. So thanks for your time, for being with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this session. Thank you, Richa.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. It
Thank
was
you,
nice
doctor.
meeting you.
Thanks.
All the best. Bye.
Thank you.